Has two daughters. They are
Oh,
12 and 13.
goodness, you got quite a family.
Right.
Yeah, all right. Keep
Yeah.
you busy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you guys had an exciting time with your visitors yesterday.
I saw him
Yeah, I think it
very
was
briefly. Go on, Tibi.
okay. I actually after I told them that I would like to to have them interact with you because we spoke about different ways, different practices we put in place, different um, ways to to go around the system to get funding for Sensorica, to get Sensorica well known in the business community and so on. How we interface with the universities. So
Uh-huh.
I told Michelle maybe one day you will have time to interact more with him, Francois. But it was very
Right.
stimulating. Can you guys hear me well? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I think the discussion was very stimulating, and they really liked also the fact that Bob could explain the infrastructure in more technical terms, bringing in his experience in resource management and accounting. Uh, they were also happy to see Steve there. So I think I think we had a nice, strong team, and we could show that somehow Sensorica is built on a solid foundation. I think that's what is. Uh, that's what we achieved yesterday, and we put up these videos on YouTube. So I hope other people will be able to, those who are interested, they can actually understand from the discussion what about who is the team behind the value network model, and behind the technology and that supports Sensorica today
Yeah.
as well.
Unfortunately, the videos on YouTube were not very good. They're pretty much unwatchable. The first one, it's like they keep cutting out, and then you go to the other one, and then on the uh, uh,
Ustream?
Ustream
Yeah.
it's really difficult to understand anybody.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I found it that way anyway. So it's we really should do some experimenting to see how to do these videos with better production quality. And I don't mean that by that slicker. I mean uh, not die in the middle and have better, uh, um, uh, so they're more understandable.
Mm-hmm,
You know what I
mm-hmm.
mean? I don't know what that would take. I don't know what the problem is, if it's a question of the computer that you're using to run them, or your bandwidth, or your camera, or what all the camera and mic setup. But it would be something to play around with, do some experimenting with.
I thought the sound is very, very good on the Ustream video, and I was surprised because usually the sound is not that good.
Yeah, I know.
Um, and okay, the image, the image is from up and it doesn't focus. You don't see the people talking. That's maybe more difficult to follow. You know who's talking. Uh, the Hangout crashed because I don't know. I don't think it was the computer. I think it was just Hangout crashing. I think it was a Google problem.
Yeah, it could be.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and one of the problems with the Hangout, if it crashes, you can't come back and record again. You have to start a new. I didn't figure it out how.
Yeah.
I think you have to start a whole new Hangout and re-invite people, and start to record again. So that's also a problem. And I prepared the day before with high quality sound. We had these mics. If you
Hmm.
remember at the beginning of the
Oh,
conversation, they
the
had these
sound
mics.
was better. Yeah.
Yeah, but then the mics they didn't function properly, and I was kind of nervous. So I switched to the
Yeah.
microphone of the camera for the Hangout.
Yeah.
initially the idea was to record the Hangout. That was to be the video. But
Yeah.
after it crashed, I couldn't recover. I couldn't recover the recording.
Well, regardless, it was really interesting to participate in. I thought it was an excellent discussion. I like Michelle. I never know when I meet somebody that's like sort of like a public figure if they're going to be real full of themselves, or not. And he didn't seem to be. He seemed to be like engaged and thinking of practical ideas, and so I was impressed with the guy.
Michel is a very low-key, low-maintenance guy.
Yeah. He didn't.
I really like him.
Yeah, he didn't care what color of jelly beans you gave him or anything like that.
Yes. Yeah. So we went to after, and he spent a lot of time with him this week. And I was at this presentation on Friday, on Saturday, and one thing I really, really appreciated about Michel, there is this expression in French, édifier une personne, which means build a person, So he plugged Sensorica everywhere, and he spoke about us, and he gave me the opportunity within these forums to really present ourselves and connect to other groups that are working in the same direction like us. So through Michel, actually, we met the people behind Communautique, which is a community of, a group of people that are trying to understand the economy of commons, that have a Fab Lab, which is called Ecolab, that I was trying to reach before this day, and now we have an open door and an invitation, and they come to see us. So there is an opportunity there to build a Fab Lab together. Because of Michel's help, we could probably get a space with Communautique, because they got a big church and a lot of buildings surrounding it. This was an abandoned Catholic church, and they actually seized it from the Catholic Church of the city. I don't know who the church belonged to, but now they're setting up the Communautique in there, and projects are to build workshops, Fab Labs,
nice.
Offices for these things. So you see, so back to Michel's character, I think he knows how to weave networks. And he does it very with conviction, and he remains an individual. You see, he's really a peer, very skillful, playing that role of connecting people together. On top of his knowledge and the way he synthesizes all this peer-to-peer movement.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
I think just him being here, we gained a lot on the local scene. Getting being known by other people and having these relationships that could materialize to something very important. Sharing material assets and buildings and stuff. So in the end, I thank Michel for for the way he was pushing Sensorica. Then he went on his social media and he tried to do some publicity for us. So it was really, really interesting.
And he's back where now? In Thailand?
He was going to Rio, he said.
Yeah.
He's a prof?
Yes, he's gonna go do a course there, and he's going to work with different local communities on peer-to-peer initiatives in Rio. But he's gonna be based at this university giving this course. That's the main activity. He's gonna be there for 3 months.
Did he met Mai?
No, he couldn't, because Mai was at
she's in Harvard.
Harvard, and she came back only yesterday at 11 p.m. I think.
Okay.
So, what is our? I put a question out there. You were talking about this Communautique. Any links to them? Do they have a web presence? Anything I can look at?
Yes, I'm searching for it. I also like to see that there is some convergence around the the infrastructure of value networks. Even the guy from France, he was really he's more into the legal aspects of peer-to-peer and commons. Okay, he's looking into licenses. He tries to understand how how this tension between the old and the new emerging. It's developing on the legal on the legal level.
Yeah. Oh no, that's very interesting. Yeah.
These confrontations, and he had a lot to say about Haas Sensorica and how we could strengthen our position. So okay, here's the link. So he can help us too. He can help us connect with some groups in France. He's from France. This is the Hangout. So I'll put it in the chat for you, Bob.
Yeah, that'd be okay.
Communautique, it's a little tricky. Okay, so they talk a lot about commons. They are not. They don't self-identify too much with the peer-to-peer movement. I think these are people from the left. A certain age, these are people above 40 that organize these things, 50, 60, some of them, and they come from the left and they talk more about commons than about peer-to-peer. And but Michel, the way he presented the peer-to-peer movement and what is happening, I think he succeeded in bringing them and us together, building a common ground. So this is what I said to Alain yesterday. We might be a little different because Sensorica is somehow market-oriented, and their initiative is just for sharing and education, and it's non-profit. So sharing spaces and materials might come into conflict with their philosophy, which is non-commercial use. Okay, so but Michel's presentation already created a common ground between us. So we need to define what is commercial and non-commercial, because now they really understand that Sensorica is not commercial in the classical sense of the word. Okay, and I told Alain.
Yeah, is who are the person that you're talking about? Vincent. Which is who is the person from Communautique that you're talking about? I didn't catch the name. I'm looking at their board of directors.
Let me see.
It's okay. I just didn't catch the names of the people who came along with Michel.
I think the name of the guy from Communautique is Alain. Let me take a look at Popo.
He might be something. Might not be somebody that's on the board of directors. There's a team. Let's see the team.
So I'm looking at it in French. How did you go to English? The English version.
It's Google Translate handles it, all that stuff.
Okay.
Badly, but good enough.
And better and better. Oui, à droite, dans la colonne en noir, conseil d'administration.
C'est dans l'accueil.
I apologize for being so linguistically incompetent here. I grew up in a subsistence farming community in North Dakota, and they spoke Norwegian when they didn't want us to understand what they were saying, not French, unfortunately. Now my daughter is fluent in French. I could bring her in here, unfortunately, since she's in New York right now.
Good.
Okay, so everybody's here at the equipe. Okay, so the guy that was there yesterday, his name is Alain. Wait a second. His name is Alain Ambrosi, and he's the associated researcher. So he's a professor at UQAM, I think. It's a local French university.
This is Alain Ambrosi? Is that the person?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the person that was there. And I also spoke to Alexander Eckerly. That was the day before. He's a professor in ethnology, anthropology at, I think it's University of Concordia, if I'm not mistaken. Right. He worked, he knew Sensorica before from the Innovation for People project. He was there yesterday. We spoke a lot about Sensorica. And he's also associated with community. Sorry?
What? Oh, okay. Here we got him. Here we got him.
I can send you the link. It's
I got him.
It's the team. And also I spoke to the director of the general director of Communautique, which her name is Monique Chartrand. She's the first one on the list on this page, and he was also very interested in communication. I also spoke to Liliane Tremblay, who's right under her here on this page. So you see that Communautique is it's an hierarchy and the way it is structured. Now you see the people who are most involved. Monique Chartrand and Liliane and Alain. He's very active with them. So. You can have an idea about how what is their philosophy and how they operate. Most importantly, it is not a network or network.
It's a big team, actually.
Yeah, no, it's a big team, and they're very well funded. And I like I said, they got this huge space, which is not too far from us. I walked 10 minutes to the lab from this church.
Oh yeah.
So yeah,
wow.
And it's not just the church itself; it's all these satellite buildings that used to be used by, the priests and the nuns and everybody else surrounding the church. So they have a huge space in there, and that was part of their projects because they don't make the distinction between immaterial and material commons like we make. We say pool of shareables, which are items that are consumed or used in use, and then knowledge and some other things that are actually enhanced in use and they're not consumed or depleted or so on, like the knowledge around our technology. So they put everything into this concept of commons. So for them, the church that they just bought and the building around it is part of the commons, and they're creating the community and the governance, in order to sustain and maintain these commons. So it's part of their projects to, you see, the Catholic Church, just to give you some background, Bob, because maybe you don't understand this, the Catholic Church in Quebec has been decimated by what we call here the Révolution Tranquille, which is the
Quiet Revolution.
The Quiet Revolution in Quebec, because the church used to be used as an oppressive, the church was an oppressive regime on the population and on the French population. It was an instrument of power to keep the French population down, and before the 40s and the 60s, the French population here in Quebec were just blue-collar workers. They couldn't rise up in the higher levels of society, and then there was this quiet revolution where they slowly rise from the workshops. They created their own in universities, their own financial institutions, but that development, that emancipation went against the oppressive Catholic Church that was keeping them down. So now you see this Communautique. It also subscribes in this movement, which is now the church is decimated and there's a lot of buildings that are emptied, because the Catholic Church is not popular anymore. So there's a lot of church and buildings that used to belong to the church that are just sitting there empty. And Communautique, one of their projects is to give to seize these assets and to put them to good use. So they are working with local communities to populate them, and to different ways to use these resources.
Interesting. Okay.
Phenomena. And for them, this is part of our commons. Whatever was left behind by the Catholic Church should be seized by local communities and used, and should become their commons. They should not be sold like some of them are sold and to be transformed in condominiums. Some people make condominiums, make apartments, and sell them. In churches. We have a few examples here in Montreal. So they don't want that kind of privatization. Okay, they want these assets back to the community because the community already paid for them a long time ago.
Yeah, yeah. This is all interesting, and I will be also very interested to see how the different interactions between peer-to-peer practices and commons practices develop. This is all really interesting stuff as far as evolving different forms of organization and institutions. And I know that's been one of the interesting things about some of the stuff that Michel has been posting lately, too. He's been looking at the interactions between peer-to-peer and government institutions. And it's all, it's like how all this stuff is going to play out is, I'm certainly not a prophet. I'm just going to watch.
Yeah. And also he was calling for a federation. So all these, initiatives that deal with commons and peer-to-peer, they should federate and help each other build this net. And by building this net, you build an ecosystem that will surround everybody. So now Sensorica will be surrounded by this ecosystem, and every other initiative will be surrounded by this ecosystem. So you strengthen, every initiative, every project, every enterprise that goes in the direction of the commons and the peer-to-peer by federating them locally and as well as at an international scale. So this is what we're trying to do. But it's not an easy thing because we might have some very similar language, but there is also a divide here. So we need to make them understand that we are about a new economic model that it's meant to be self-sustainable even after an eventual collapse of capitalism. Sensorica will still be able to survive on its own, where other initiatives are dependent on the actual system. So we need to find ways to talk to each other. When we say we're market-oriented and we make commercial use of the assets, we should make them understand that commercial use is a very different term than what we normally hear. Okay, so.
Well, one of the things that happens though is that the system is very good at co-optation. I mean, there's varieties of different things, that can happen in terms of somebody trying to do an alternative within the existing system, and certainly they can find ways to block you, but they can also say, oh boy, we could make money off these guys. You know what I'm saying? Let's bring them in. Hey, Sensorica, we got an offer that you can't refuse here. This will be really good. You'll love it. Just sign your soul over right now.
Yeah.
Although they'll do it in a much trickier way than that.
Yes.
But I can also I've seen articles already by business consultants, some who are looking at all of this peer-to-peer and startup activity and all that kind of stuff, and are saying, "Oh, this is really interesting. This is like a new, but they're looking at it from the standpoint, okay, how can we how can we co-opt this? How can we make
Yeah.
money off of this trend?
Mhm.
How can, you know, these guys can be our innovation, our cheap innovation engine. They go out and
Mhm.
just do it out of the goodness of their hearts. You know, we know where that goes. You're gonna have to be careful, guys.
I know, and I see the danger. And during the meeting yesterday at the Sensorica lab, I don't know if you remember, Bob, but maybe that was after we came back from lunch. I don't remember. Michel Bones was talking about the 3D printing, the Red Wrap project. So, you know, Francois, the 3D printers, they were developed by an open community,
Oh, yeah?
and yeah, and then there was this nucleus of this community, that was basically coordinating all the work in the design of 3D printing, and they formed a company, and then some investors, they saw a big opportunity in there, and they invested, and this small group of people that were the movers and shakers of this more decentralized and diffuse community, they actually succumbed to the temptation, and they took the bait, and they accepted the money of these investors. And what happened then is that the investors, they put pressure on the team, and the second generation of the 3D printing hardware and software was closed, because these investors, they thought that they need to have more security on their investment.
Mhm.
So you see how, and right away after the community just dissipated, and it just evaporated. I mean, the people went to spend their time somewhere else. Okay.
Right.
So now there's a company that was formed like that, and according to Michel, it might be a successful company. The problem is that the model has totally changed, and the community is not there anymore to support them. So basically, now they're on their own. They're just a classic startup like any other startup,
Yeah.
with a bad
It's,
reputation in the community of designers, and
because they don't
So-
see the value here of being open and getting contributions from everywhere. They just see one side of the system.
I think Michel said that this guy that was behind who's inside this core, and he was behind the project. He really understands peer-to-peer and how it works. This sort of open enterprise. He probably thought he could do it. He probably thought he could manage his investors. And then once you bite the forbidden fruit, you find yourself less and less free to make your own decisions. And he probably lost it.
Yeah.
Well, that's what happened to Better Means, which I'm sure you're aware of too.
Yes.
They wanted to go for venture capital money, and they figured in order to do that, that was the point when Adele Burns and I were working out the details of how the value equation income distribution was going to work for them, and so. So they figured in order to go for the venture capital money, they had advisors that were telling them this: if you want to go for the venture capital money, you got to kill all of that stuff. That's all has to go away. They won't stand for any of that stuff, because those people will then be those people will be part owners in some sense. In other words, that starts to look like shares to us. We can't handle those people. Who are they, and how does this all work? So you got to get rid of all of that. So basically, then they just killed all of the credits, and then went and so they reconstituted themselves, and Adele left extremely pissed off, and then they went for the venture capital money, and then they never got it. So It's all there's yeah, there's a lot of pitfalls out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
However, if you know where they're coming from, then you can be forewarned.
But here, Tibi mentioned once this concept. I don't know if it's from you, Tibi, or elsewhere. Concept of liquid shares. Actually, it's what we use in Sensorica. So if investors are
Liquid equity, yeah.
liquid equity, if they agree to use this, we can talk maybe.
Yes.
They can bring money, have shares, and their equity will be diluted as the project grows.
Oh, I think there's a way to do it. You just have to find you have to have people who actually want to be members of the network rather than
taking it.
Buy the network, yes, yeah, and turn it into their kind of business, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, but many fine lines.
And here it's related to Mai's questions also. How do we value a project? Because if someone wants to inject money and have equity, liquid equity, in exchange, this person has to know his return on investment, and actually every member should know his return on investment in time or money.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be nice to have some way to evaluate, even if it's very complicated, some flags, some targets, but I don't have any process in mind, just an idea.
That's doable. It's basically you have to to whatever extent you can figure out what the upcoming cash flows might be. You can project them through the value equation and figure out what might be coming your way when. It's the same as distributing the income. You're just basically distributing potential
Right.
income.
Forecast.
And you have to make it really clear to people that that this is an estimate.
Assumption.
And
Right.
don't spend the money yet. And
Yeah.
but it's all doable. It's all the same calculations.
I think that's a very interesting thing, and now we're going to to infrastructure, which is the actual purpose of this meeting. Because I do see that. So when you talk about recruitment, when you talk about acquisition of new resources, either members of assets or whatever,
Investments.
Yeah. So then you need to have a way to let people evaluate their risk and evaluate their return on investment. And I see a very easy way to do that, just based on what Bob is doing in terms of infrastructure. I think Francois, when we do this, what we call the path to the market documents, which is modeled around the classic business plan. You also do a financial projection, okay, and a projection of resources needed for that project. So, in a sense, you can just simulate the project, but being in the future. So, let's say, that this project requires, this many engineers to work for, the electronic part of it. This many engineers to work for the optical part of it. It requires this many people to do some office work or marketing or so on. So you put all these resources into the system. You can also, predict how much money will go into buying new equipment if you don't already have it. So then it's all a projection. But what you're doing now, you're basically going ahead of time and putting this data into the system that will naturally come as the project develops. So that might be a feature in the value accounting system to be able to put fictitious numbers or predictions, okay, and be able to simulate the future in this way. And then you have the value equation solving it all, you know, if you put the time it takes for different tasks and the money and the, you know, other types of resources, then the value equation is already there. It doesn't have to be changed. It's the same that it's used.
Oh, sure.
It's just a scenario that you're simulating, you see.
Right.
Yep, absolutely.
And to have more, to get more confidence, it's good to wait to have a few sales, and then you can extrapolate a little bit more. But for now, it's difficult to forecast this revenue side, even if the cost side is a little bit more predictable, I think. But even there's a lot of assumptions.
Yep.
But
it will be that way until you start getting out of research and development mode, you know.
right.
And even then, you're probably going to be R&D for for quite a while in some aspects. So people have to get used to some level of uncertainty.
Right.
Now, I thought that Michel's idea of factors was really excellent and practical. I don't know if they can get that to happen. You know, that would be very interesting if they can get that to happen. Did you follow what he was saying there?
No, can you just summarize rapidly what he's about?
A factor is a company that buys accounts receivable from small businesses.
Oh, okay.
So they say, okay, we have these orders out there. We know that these customers are going to pay us eventually, but we got a cash flow crunch right now.
Right.
We have no cash to and this is the thing that Mai was talking about okay, now, you know, there is this gap in the capital cycle, in the investment cycle, you know, where you invest in materials and other resources going into production. You make the sensors, you sell the sensors, and you want to keep going with the production, but you don't have the money back because your customers have not paid you yet, and you probably have this, the people that you got the materials from want their payment now, and if you're going to do another round, you have to do some more. So this is like a small business cash flow problem that is, you know, I mean, it happens all over the place. So the factor is this company that steps in and says, okay, I will buy your accounts receivable at some discount, you know, but I'll give you the money now, and so you can start the next round of production now. So if you had, so now in general, the factors are the factoring companies are like payday loan companies. They're quite exploitative, you know. In other words, they will have bad terms on their, you know, they're going to take a big discount, and they are basically not your friend. They want to bleed you. You know, it's a business opportunity for them. But if it was possible to organize a friendly factoring organization, that would be really useful. You know, to all kinds of value network style organizations.
Yeah, and he's actually he wants to do that for peer-to-peer. He wants to. He thinks that's a mechanism that is really crucial for peer-to-peer, because in peer-to-peer you have a lot of instability. And he was talking about himself. Sometimes he has a contract. Like the contract with Orange that it had, you know, to produce a report, or with European Community to produce a report. He knows he's going to get the money, okay?
Yeah.
But that money is going to come in 2 or 3 installments, and he needs money to roll, okay? So you know, there's big chunks of money coming once or twice a year. In the meantime, you need to pay your rent. So for him, he thinks that's an instrument in peer-to-peer, and he does that. I mean, all this idea in the project is done with Sébastien Paquet, who's here in Montreal. So that's a collaboration between Michel Bones and Sébastien Paquet.
Oh yeah, all this. Sorry. About the account receivables, it's done with
I didn't catch the name.
It's Seb. Yeah.
Just put it in the chat. I'm dealing with my ears here. It's really I'm gonna have to get a hearing aid. I don't know.
Bob, you know him. Here he is. You know him. He was on the call. For
yeah, I know, but I didn't catch all the people that were on the call. I didn't catch all their names.
You know this guy for sure. You've seen him.
On this guy. Yeah, but he's working on it. He's not. Yeah, he's the guy that's working on it. He's not the guy that's actually gonna. He doesn't have the money.
He could get the money.
He could get the money. Oh, I didn't know he had money or was connected to money.
He is now working with. He's now working with. He's a vice president of a company now. Actually, he quit. He was a professor. At the
okay. This is not anybody that I know. I have no personal connection with him at all. I just have followed his. I've followed him. What he's been posting on Google Plus. That's all I know of him, really.
Yeah.
He
has a network and he.
Yeah, and some of it I like, some of it I don't like. But yeah, this is a really interesting. I'm happy that he's working on this because I think this is one of the things where I started to understand that Michel is not just talking theory here. He's talking about practical ways to make this stuff work.
Yeah. He is.
And it's good to see these communities playing with money and not just starving, solving the problem up front and maybe in the future creating their own peer-to-peer banks, and they already exist, but with the full service like this one, account receivables, loans, and there's already microcredits, loans, peer-to-peer lending. But it must be integrated with the communities, and Sensorica could benefit from it.
Well, we'll see. If they can make something happen like that, that will be another interesting and possibly really, really useful development. Okay, so anything else in the stratosphere here that we want to talk about? Because at some point here, I have a couple of practical, immediate questions for software development.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, I think we should jump to that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right now I'm going through. As I explained to you once upon a time that I did a lot of just pure hacking to get the prototype out there and get something demoable by the time that you guys were meeting with and so in software terms, I cheated. Okay, so I threw a bunch of stuff together by hook or by crook without. I didn't taking much time to think about it very much, and so I fixed some of that stuff before I put it out there for you to work on to start working with Francois. But now I want to fix a bunch of other stuff. So I'm going through, and I have a bunch of in programmer terms we call this technical debt. Okay, I owe the system. I need to pay. I need to go back and see if I can make these hacks more rational, and so it's like the whole thing, the whole mantra, make it work, okay, it works, okay, now let's make it right, okay. And so Lynn and I are going through this, and we're discussing all of these design issues. She would participate in these things a lot more, except she's got a day job. She's still in day job land. I get her attention, you know, at lunch and in the evening and stuff like that, and we work our way through these things. So one of those things is I have been trying to get your attention on this idea of using economic resource types to implement what you guys have been doing with roles. And
with what? Roles. Sorry.
Yeah. In other words, what you got for roles right now, there's a couple of things. One of them is when you talk about them as types of work, where somebody is doing some type of work and they may have skills in that type of work, or they have some experience in that type of work, and you can check that you know that, okay, they've done whatever this is type of work before, and you can evaluate how they did it. And there's this, you know, or you can have somebody who comes in and says, I can do you know, electronic design or something like that, but you don't know yet if they can actually do it. You know, so that's one use case for roles. You know, and so some of the roles look like that, but some of the roles look to me more like what somebody was working on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like infrastructure. I don't think of infrastructure as a type of work. You could do a lot of different types of work on infrastructure.
Right.
You know, so what I wanted, and so I started implementing roles as an object in the system, you know, and I started trying to make that work in terms of this whole thing with the recipe, you know, where you would have, okay, I need an input and I need an input in some type of role, and who are the people who have played that role.
I'm taking notes. What you're saying.
Yeah, and it gets very messy. In other words, I have this simple, repeatable, fractal set of patterns, and they all work together very cleanly, and the code is simple, and you can figure out what's going on. If I put role in there, it complicates that. It complicates. It doesn't fit the pattern quite right.
Okay.
But economic resource types are already in there, and economic resource types are intended to express what type of resource this is. And so labor time is a resource type, and there could be a bunch of varieties of labor time, you know, in terms of you know, the type of work that somebody would do. So I think it is. I mean, one of the aspects of economic resource types is that lots of things are economic resource types, including materials, including energy, including space in the lab, you know, and all kinds of stuff. But there certainly are time-based. There are time-based, labor time would usually be measured in hours, you know, in time, and likewise the use of a machine or space in the lab and things like those. Those would all be time-based resource types. But labor time then also has the dimensions of what type of work they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it actually expresses what you were trying to express with roles, and it does it from the standpoint of the fractal pattern of the system. It does it more cleanly. You know, it makes the code simpler rather than adding another object that doesn't quite fit the pattern. And I could go into detail on that and show you the actual differences in code that would result, but that may be more than you want to know. And I would have to put something together, you know, and I wouldn't do it. I couldn't do it fast enough to make it work within this discussion. But if you want me to get down to that level of detail, I can get there. But what I'm proposing here is that I will go through the history of time contributions, and I will try to extrapolate what I think are the actual types of work that people are doing. And sometimes it's pretty clear because there is a role expressed there that is one of the roles that is pretty close, that looks to me like a type of work, and so I just use that. And otherwise I'll try to extrapolate something, and I will put this together, and then you guys can take a look at it. But I want your buy-in, at least tentatively, in doing this. Because I'm trying to let me just take another flip on this. Okay, so Michelle is talking about he wants to interview me sometime in the future about the value accounting system. Yes. I'm really nervous about that. I would really like to have you, Tibi, and possibly Steve, and other people that would be in on that interview, because there's a couple of things about that. Number one, I don't want to be the face of value accounting. I just want to be the programmer. I am not the guy that to some extent I'm coming up with the ideas on how to implement this stuff, but I'm not trying to come up with the ideas on what it all means. So you guys are both the theoreticians and designers of the value network practices.
But you are part of the group.
I think those are much more important, and the other thing is that I don't like to be, I don't have time, I don't have the personality, to be a
ambassador.
Yeah, and when I do this stuff, I like to get into all of the details of, and how it works. And it's, I used to be, when I worked for ERP software companies, I was very popular with the very, very good salespeople to take out on sales calls, and they would have me talk to the practitioners, the guys that had to use the system to actually do their jobs. They would keep me far away from the managers. Okay, because I would get down into the weeds with the practitioners, and we would go through in great detail, as much detail as they want, how this stuff actually works. And if they would say, does it do that, and it didn't, I would say, no, it does not do that. And so if they put me in the room with the managers, and they did this a couple of times, and they pretty much figured out, okay, this guy is a disaster in this particular setting, keep him out. That number one, I would bore the managers to tears. They did not want that much detail. They want to know, is this going to make me more money, and is this going to increase my head count? So that my empire, my personal empire, can I build my career? What is this going to do for me personally? Basically, they don't want to, don't give me the details. I don't have time for that. So they would, their eyes would glaze over, and then they would ask, does it do this? Whatever it is, does it have? Does it connect? Does it get me more Facebook likes? And I would say, no, it does not. They say, no, you're not supposed to say that. So all I'm trying to say is I'm no good in that role. I will bore them to tears, and I will deny.
I think you are too modest, because you also have good vision of the big picture of what the system is intended to.
I do, but I have this vision on a really, really boring level unless you're deep into it yourself. You guys are deep into it yourself, so you can sort of appreciate. We can all think together on some level of the mechanisms, of the practicalities, and so but I will guarantee you that we could take somebody else in the room that just wants to know what this is and is just starting to get their heads into it, and they would be looking at their watch and saying, "Is it over yet?" You know. So, but at any rate, all I'm trying to say is that I don't want to get in this interview with Michelle, which I think this would be really great for the project. You know, because I'd like to see more programmers involved, and it'd be really great for that. But I don't want to end up. I don't want it to end up being about me. I want it to end up about the project and the ideas behind the project and where everything is going. You know, economically and in terms of forms of organization and what this will do for you. You know, so I really would want. I figure if I can get at least you, Tibi, and probably Steve, you know, into the discussion, you know, it will take some of that personal focus out of it.
You know, I spoke to Michel after when we went to have lunch together, and I think that's exactly his goal here, is to show the world what has been done on value accounting systems, because he believes this is important. You know, if we want to transition from the social web to the value producing web, we have to solve this problem. Okay.
Yep.
This is what he wants. Actually, he wants to encapsulate this message about, you know, the key features of value accounting, and to show how they're used in practice by a group.
Yes.
Like Sensorica.
Yeah.
And then to distribute that. So he wants to start a global discussion about, you know, value accounting. Okay, that's his goal.
Good. Love
so it's not even us, like me personally or you personally. It's just focused on the concept and the tools and how they're being developed and used. That's what his goal is, yeah.
Good. Okay. All right. Okay. So then back to this whole issue of the economic resource types versus the roles. In other words, what I want to do with this is I want to do this fairly quickly, although it's going to take me a few days, and I want to put it out there. And then I want you guys to look at it. In other words, because I don't want to shove this down your throat. You know, it's like I have my bias to stick with this pattern, but there are things that won't fit the pattern. You know, and so there's going to have to be variations. And this may be a variation, or I may be right that this is actually going to work very simply and cleanly that way. But I want you to look at it and just get. I want a tentative go ahead right now, okay? And then I want you to look at it, and then let's discuss it again. Maybe we can do like next Monday. Maybe we can go through this. Maybe I will have it out there by then. And then we can see, does this do what you have in mind, what you think you need it to do in this particular situation? All right.
Okay, I just have some questions, Bob, because I think there is not a misalignment here. I can send something interesting, and I'm also, you say you're biased for your pattern. I think we have a great advantage to stick to a very, very simple pattern that repeats itself over and over, because it makes the whole structure much more how should I say that, it makes it more resilient, right? It makes it
I think it is. I think it will pay dividends down the road. And it was, like I said, I have worked with the ERP systems, and the ERP systems are, as I said, like they're these horrible kludges, and it was the one of the companies that I worked for had a 2-year lag time for new feature requests. They had a user group, and the user groups would put new feature requests in, and it would take 2 years to get the stuff out there. But that was because the whole system is so complicated that if you want to add something to it, it touches so many places, and they are so cranky. You know, it's like I was the test manager for one project, and it was an $8 million project, and this was to add one set of new features. And we had this hallway full of contract programmers, all sitting on little tables next to each other, you know, and it was like sort of like the hallway of doom. You know, you actually did not want to work there. It was just awful. You know, I had to make a living somehow. You know, but yeah, I mean, they're just you know, it's like what happened with those things. It was like just a clumping together of varieties of systems that most of these companies bought from somebody else, and then they sort of like stuck together with bubble gum and tape, you know, and so there's very and that's why they had that you know, 2 years to get a new feature out there.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't have this problem.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying is, like, we start with something clean and simple, and try to keep it clean and simple. You know, although you know, there are gonna be exceptions. There are gonna be things that we're gonna want to do that don't quite fit the pattern, and we're gonna have to deal with them. But
okay.
But
so Bob,
in this case, I don't think this is one. I think this actually does fit the pattern.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. That's why I want to define it better. So you were saying to introduce a new resource type, right? Which how would you define it again?
It's just more resource types that represent different types of work. And to some extent, they will be the same as your roles. In other cases, I may make something up, or I may ask you. Okay, here's a time contribution, and you know, what do you think? What type of work is going on here? So I may send you some questions.
Okay. But so let me just clear this for a moment. So it's a new resource type that is represents different types of work. Now the next question is this something? Is this a pattern that merges, or there is a person behind that decides on a list of tags, let's say, of individuals within this category, which is you know, which is this new resource type. So this new resource type is a category. Then you have individuals, which could be, for example, doing R&D, doing electrical circuits, you know, doing office work. So that's a list of individuals who
skills.
The skills. So is this list you know, expandable and editable by users?
Oh, yes.
Or is it,
yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is all going to be. It is all going to be maintainable, editable. You can add more. You can delete some. You know, whatever you want to do. You know, it's just, and I will, and the system will keep track of what labor types of work an individual has done by means of their time contributions, their history of time contributions. And so I'm going to actually keep a score in terms of how many hours an individual has worked in this, doing this type of work. And you can also, if you really want to do that, you will be able to link to the whole history of their time contributions, doing that type of work. And you know, when you guys get to the point where you have got quality scores for this stuff and so on, you'd be able to look at, okay, well, they did this, but you know, it didn't really work out very well, or it worked out wonderfully, you know, and here's this person, they just came in the door and they said, well, I can do this type of work, and so here they did it, and everybody thought it was really wonderful, and so at that point we may want to revise the score to be some combination of the hours and the quality, but and then that also becomes a reputation factor, not the only factor in somebody's reputation, but it's a factor.
Right, but Tibi, just correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's exactly what Mai suggested also at a point. For example, new members, they list their skills. It's as if they were submitting their resume to Sensorica, and we have and we can pick these skills when needed. For example, when there's an urgent task, then you need someone for soldering electronics. So then you call these skills, and someone just take the task.
Do you have a list of? Yeah. Do you have could you put together a list of those skills, even just tentatively? Something that and I will use them.
Yeah, I have something, Bob. I have a list of activities, and we can build a list.
I want the skills, the skills that would go on the resume, and then see like how those relate to types of work and things like that, and that will be part of this conversation about economic resource types and so on. All right.
Okay. Okay. I type this as Zulu for me because I want to understand structuring this idea in my head. So I see the lowest level that we have is the database, the raw data, which is the log of contributions, right? This is the data produced by members.
Yes. And I'm going to mine that.
Okay. And within the value accounting system, you create a new resource type, which represents different types of work, right?
Yes.
And now, so this new category has a list of individuals, okay, which are different types of work that are users. It's an emergent list. New items can be added by users. Other items can be not deleted by, let's say, left behind as obsolete or not used anymore. Anyway, so it's something that is dynamic, right? So users can edit and put more stuff. This is good because we had this idea in mind of an emergent structure. So this resource type that you do, it's data that is directly extracted from that primitive database, okay, which is the log of contributions, right? And then I see here superior layers, okay, which is the quality score, the system that will keep track of past, you build a history per member, activity per project or whatever. You can now play with this data once you have it. And let me add this, so we were thinking about when we say value, reputation, and role, these are like three separate systems that interact with each other. And from the beginning, the role chart, the role map that I post on the website, I can actually give to you here. It is something that is extracted from contributions. Okay, so I think everything comes out of the database of contributions, basically. That is the base of the entire system. And then what we used to say in our old language, we extract roles from that. Now that could be translated into your new language, being, we're creating a resource type from that. Okay, so we're creating this, okay. And then the role system, I want. Our vision of the role system was to be a separate entity, so I want to dissociate here, the value accounting and resource management from the role system, because the role system now, once you have this data, this new resource type with the list of of items inside, now you can do a lot of things with it, okay? And the role system is like basically, it's a bunch of ways of looking at this data. okay? But let's call it, the resource type is a more primitive way of looking at it. And then from that, you build a role system, okay, which stands alone, but it feeds from this raw data, okay? And then the role system can be used by new members to see who they should talk to if they have a novel idea or new idea, a new invention, a new project initiative. Well, they're gonna look at that data in some way, so that they can see who to talk to. Okay, who's the best guy that I'm gonna talk to for this project? And it's probably not the best guy that knows the technology, but it's maybe the guy that will be able to influence the community and to gather resources around the project or whatever. So that would be one use of the role system. You see, the outsiders, people, might want to go to a project and say, what are the roles people play within this project? Oh, I see that there's people doing a lot of R&D, and there is people doing some office work. So these are, maybe the role system can be seen as a very high level system, okay, but that is also feeding itself from the contribution log, okay.
Yeah.
And the primary operation you have, so you have the database of contribution log, and the first layer of on top of that is your new resource type. So basically you take the raw data and you extract this new resource type, right? Where then after is going to feed into the role system, which is a higher level of looking at this data by members and people from outside, watching us on Facebook or whatever. This is how I understand it. Okay, so this is my vision. This is how I understand. I want to put it forward there. You see, as material for work.
I think that what I will be doing next and have ready for you to look at before we get together again next Monday will fit into that. Okay, if to the extent it doesn't fit into that in the first revision, we will make it fit into that. I think I understand where you're coming from, and I think that we will get there in this next revision. All right.
Okay. Because you see, there is this. We talk about the infrastructure at large, and we also talk about resource management and value accounting. Yes. And the role system is part of the infrastructure, but it feeds from resource management and value accounting, which is the lower level. So when we talk about the role system, it's something that helps in other ways, even for self-organization. Let's say I want to get involved into a project, and I look at the map of roles, which is a very high-level picture, and I say, well, this role is taken, this role is taken, this role is taken. I'm gonna put myself under this guy now because he has a good reputation in this role. Yeah. Okay. And I voluntarily subordinate myself to it. So you see, there's another use of roles which are less related to value accounting and resource management, and more related to self-organization, organizational building, orientation of new members within the network, and so on. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, I do see what you're thinking. I'm going to put a link out here on the chat to something that I've started writing. It's really just a starting point, and it's not directly speaking to what you're talking about, but I think it will give you some ideas, and you can spin off some other ideas off of this, okay?
Yes. Okay. So yeah, I think that's my message. Just to keep in mind that the role is a concept that is not only reduced to the level of the value accounting and resource management. It has other meanings on higher levels. Okay.
Absolutely. Understood. Okay. So we'll see. We'll see now. See how well I can pay off of all of these promises by next Monday.
Okay. No problem.
All right.
Like Francois says, we can't dance faster than the music.
Yeah, I know. Hey, it's a good rule to keep in mind. Yeah. I like it. It's good saying. I'm gonna put it on my wall. All right. Let me write that down. All right. Is there anything else that we should talk about in this particular hangout?
I don't know. I think
Francois, did you run into any problems or questions, or do you have any suggestions for improvement as you were wandering around through the software?
Actually, I just browsed the log time contributions page, and the others I just had a look, but briefly. I will pass more time on it.
Okay, good. And nag Jonathan too. You know, get out there and break stuff.
Okay.
All right.
Jonathan will be happy to break stuff. He loves that.
All right, good. Okay. Okay. So. Okay. Anything else?
I think it's
not for me.
It's okay. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Thank you all very much, and we'll stay in touch.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Bob.
All right, and we're gonna go back to some transducer making, Francois.
Yeah, right. I need you to shrink and to learn to teach me.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. That's another thing we got to get into the system is training.
Mm-hmm.
History of training. Yeah, it'd be good.
Yes.
All right. That won't happen. That will not happen this week, though.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Bye then.
See you.
Good day.